Welcome back to the Pathways to Happiness podcast. My name is Nena Lavonne. I'm a life coach that specializes in personal development and life improvement. And I am really excited about today's episode because we are going to be doing questions and answers. I reached out to you guys for the last couple weeks, seeing if you had any specific questions, and you did not disappoint. I received many questions, and some are just so interesting and insightful, and I really look forward to answering them. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to get to all the questions. I did receive a lot of questions. Some are concerning personal development, others are looking for kind of advice, and I had several questions that were kind of specific to myself, so I will do my best to answer all those questions, and I thank you so much for taking the time to get those questions to me. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I really like the first question, and the question reads, how do you start on personal development when you feel like you've hit rock bottom? I love this question because actually I truly feel that people that have hit rock bottom really have an advantage, because what happens when you are unhappy in your life to some degree, but you don't hit rock bottom, you usually tend to continue on with the behavior and the activities and the lifestyle that you've had for a long time. If it doesn't get bad enough, you never really have incentive to fix anything. But when you actually hit rock bottom, you know you have to change everything. You realize for yourself that what you've been doing doesn't work. So you have proof and evidence that it does not work, and you are actually ready to make changes. So now we've also realized what we don't want in our life. So it's a great opportunity to look at what you really do want for your life. So it's a matter of figuring out, firstly, what went wrong in the first place. How did you get here? And knowing that you don't want to repeat those behaviors and that life path is not leading anywhere good for you. And then also determining, where do you want to go? Because now you have every option available to you. You're really starting over, which is a wonderful opportunity. So few people take that opportunity when it's presented to them, because again, most people just try to put band-aids on their life when they have problems. So instead of actually fixing things, we just kind of find a way to muddle through them. So when you are actually hitting rock bottom, you are forced to do something new, unless you make the decision that you somehow want to stay at the bottom. So a lot of people just kind of give up when they're there. So that's exactly what you don't want to do. You want to use it as incentive to change. I mean, you are going to feel the pain because whatever you went through was probably very traumatic. So you need to allow yourself to feel that pain. But then you need to take that pain and use it to propel you to take action in your life. It's an amazing opportunity to be able to start your life again. And you need to have confidence, because remember, you built a life before. Maybe it didn't work out, but you did build a life before, and you will build another life. And this life is going to be so much better, because now we much better understand who we are as people, what our needs are, and we can work through the process of figuring out what happened, what led to this big crash in our life. How did we hit rock bottom? It's not very often we get to this point because we made a lot of great decisions, or that we really had a great knowledge of who we were as people or what our needs actually were. But the great news is that now we can take the time to really consider all these things, and who knows what we can do with our life. We have, just endless possibilities at this point. So now we have the absolute gift, the absolute privilege of building a life that we truly want to lead. So we are the author of our lives, and we are much more strong than we give ourselves credit for. So going back to the actual question of how do you start with personal development when you've hit rock bottom, you just want to look at the aspect or area of your life that most contributed to this collapse. And of course, I'm not talking about external factors, I'm talking about internal factors. So we need to look at the area in our life that is most in need of change. And that is exactly where you want to start. And you want to remember that change in our life is always 100% possible. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next question, which is, are you an introvert or an extrovert? So that is a great question, and I actually love personality tests and I love personality theory. So on every single personality test I've ever taken, I always get the answer back that I am extroverted. So if we're going with the 16 personalities test or the Myers-Briggs personality test, I am a very clear ENFP personality type. I have been this personality type for the amount of years that I've taken this test, which is probably like 20 years. It comes to the same personality type every single time. However, one of the things that makes someone an introvert or an extrovert is how they kind of recharge. So an introvert will tend to recharge by going alone by themselves and having quiet time and thinking alone with themselves. And an extrovert tends to really recharge by being around other people. They love to be around other people, and they actually kind of recharge and get energy from those other people. So in that regard, I feel that I'm more an introvert. I do really, really enjoy spending time alone. I'm very comfortable with other people and I'm extremely outgoing, but I always struggle with introvert versus extrovert because of that factor. Also, most psychologists agree that people are, more in the middle somewhere between the two. So it's very rare that someone would be completely extroverted or completely introverted. We are somewhere in the spectrum. So if you feel that you really don't know if you are an introvert or an extrovert, you feel like you have qualities of both, I really can relate to that very well. Okay, so let's move on to the next question, which is, what habit do you think most gets in the way of personal growth? Okay, there are so many different ways to answer this question, but I'm going to choose something that I see all the time, which is always trying to reinforce your own opinion. So what I mean by that is, as people, we go along through life formulating opinions about, everything about ourselves, about other people, about how the world works in general. And we tend to only seek out knowledge or information that really confirms what we already believe. So we are likely to read the same types of books, see the same type of movies, and watch the same type of television programs, and speak to the same type of people because we are only looking for information that, again, really reaffirms what we have chosen to believe. Now, one of the problems with this is that a lot of times our opinions are really based on nothing. If we ask someone why they believe something, a lot of times they have no idea why they believe that in the first place. But they're comfortable with what they believe because they've had that thought process for so long. So I remember growing up, my father loved to debate, and he was a great debater. He would really be able to debate either side. So we'd be at the dinner table and he would ask to debate me, and he would pick a topic and tell me, to choose which side I would argue. And he would be able to argue whatever side, but I would always pick to argue the side that I actually believed in. Now, I was young and I was filled with strong opinions that I have no idea what they were based on. And that was very evident because almost every single time I would end up in tears. And that was because he was able to really give great evidence to the contrary of what I was saying. And of course, there's that embarrassment of losing. And there's also the embarrassment of understanding that, you didn't give enough thought to your beliefs in the first place. And, that's an extreme example, and I don't think, everybody thinks in the mind of a teenager, But I do think that so much of the time we don't challenge our own thoughts and opinions. And so providing ourselves with opportunities to see things from different perspectives just allows for so much growth. And we are so reluctant to do so because I think a part of us doesn't want to believe something else. We don't really want to open our eyes to different opinions, especially when we are comfortable with our own opinions. And that also doesn't mean that just because we expose ourselves to something that we are going to automatically agree with what it says. It may actually further confirm whatever it is we believe. But it's important that we do challenge that so we can consistently have growth in our life. And kind of going hand in hand with that is just providing ourselves with lots of opportunities to do new things in general. So not only think new things, but to just do new things, to go to new places. We are completely creatures of habits, and if it was up to our own bodies, we would do exactly the same thing every single day, which happens for most people. We have recycled thoughts about 95% of the time. We're thinking exactly what we were thinking the day before and the day before that, and that goes with our actions as well. So just trying to get some variety in our thoughts and our actions will definitely lead to a lot of personal growth. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next question, which is there a common theme that you see with many of your clients? Yes, there is. And not just with my clients, I'm going to actually add myself into the mix because this is something that I struggled with immensely as well. And that is escapism. We have to understand that every single person has issues. Everybody's got stuff. Every single person, no matter who they are, they have stuff that they are dealing with and issues that really do need to be addressed. That is a common thread with everybody. But usually, if we address these problems, we will have temporary discomfort or temporary pain, but then we are able to successfully heal from that and move on with our lives. But a common thread with most people is that instead of doing that, they would much rather restructure their entire life to really avoid that temporary discomfort or pain. We become very, very afraid of feeling that emotion. And that's where the escapism or the distractions come into play. And I was absolutely an expert on this. I just kind of stuffed my life with everything that I could. And I was already so busy to begin with because I ran a business, but I never wanted to address those problems. So I kept pushing them away and, making other things seem like they are more important. And that is something that I see all the time with my clients, exactly the same thing. But the funny thing is, that they really do have a self-awareness about it. They don't choose to think about it, but as soon as I call them out on it, they laugh. They know that it's there. So we see that if we look at our lives, how many ways that we really make a buffer around feeling that pain. So we go to great lengths to, again, restructure our life so that we never have to address it. So whether that means we actually change our jobs or change our relationship or, change how we drive to work, there's all different modifications that we make to really avoid actually addressing the problems and, feeling those uncomfortable feelings. But like I said a few minutes ago, we are much stronger than we give ourselves credit for. So we work up this incredible fear of facing these things and feeling these feelings. But so often the anxiety we have about feeling those emotions is more painful than the actual emotion. So we really, perpetuate this negativity in our life instead of just being direct, getting to the root of the problem, and actually allowing ourselves to heal. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next question. Oh, I really like this question. The question is, why is it bad to care what people think? Well, first of all, it's not bad to care what people think. I mean, it's human nature to care what people think. We are social by nature. What is problematic is when we care too much about what other people think. And that is something that I think so many people suffer with, especially now with social media. Our whole life is really just out for people to judge. It's all out on display all the time, and people can be critical, and people are critical a lot of the time. So it comes down to really understanding that it is okay to acknowledge what other people think, but we don't want to structure any part of our life on the opinions of other people. And I think a lot of times we also don't realize how much we are doing that. We are so afraid of having a bad reaction from other people. And it is, again, human nature to want to be loved and accepted, but it's just not going to happen all the time. We're all different people. We have different life experiences, and we all have different perspectives, and they are not going to all align with one another. So one thing that I often ask my clients is, would you let someone decide what you were going to wear today and what you were going to eat today? And, usually they laugh at that question, and of course not. You would never let someone else pick out your clothes or decide what food you're going to eat. But yet, we let other people make huge decisions in our life. We have the opinions of other people really steer the entire path of our life. A lot of times we avoid careers because we are afraid of being judged or mocked, or trying things because we feel that we might not look perfect. And so that fear of judgment really just gets in the way of pretty much everything. So that is my best answer for that one. It's just, caring is fine. We just can't care so much that it really steers our life in any direction other than the direction that we sincerely want to go in. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next question, which is, how do you decide what topics you will cover on your show? Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so the first way is by looking at the different issues that seem to be coming up the most often for my clients. So if I notice that something is continuously a problem for a lot of people, I know it's a topic that really does need to be addressed. So that's definitely the first thing. And the second thing is, I tend to make content that revolves around issues that I have had in the past, because I wish these resources had been available for me. So oftentimes I am just telling my old self what I needed to hear at that point, in hopes that it's going to help somebody else. Because what I have found is that although we are all very unique individual creatures, there are so many similarities that we hold. And unfortunately, one of the biggest similarities is that most of us do not feel like enough. We don't feel good enough. We always feel that other people are better than we are in some way, that they are more capable, that they are more experienced or more intelligent. But we always seem to think that we are somehow on a lesser tier than most people. And of course, that is not the case at all. And I did a podcast about that if you want to check out that. But that feeling of being not enough really is something that really unites most people. But luckily, that is something that we can get past. We have to work through it, but we can finally come to the realization that we are certainly enough. So to specifically answer the question, I look at all the things that I feel that are issues for other people and for myself, and those are the things that I tend to focus on the most. Certainly my motivation in life is always to be helping other people with personal development and mental health. I could not be more passionate about these topics. So those are the things that I tend to focus my energy on. Okay, so moving on to the next question, which is, You seem to have a negative opinion on TV. Is there any TV that you find acceptable? Okay, well, that is not entirely true. I don't think that anything in and of itself is positive or negative. I think it's our relationship to it. So I think that television can be very positive for a lot of people in moderation, and if it's something that you are doing with your full intention. So if you're watching something actively that you actively enjoy, I don't think that that's problematic unless you're doing that for hours and hours a day. But I think it's the mindless watching of television that is problematic, where you're just kind of sitting there and you're kind of watching television and you're kind of scrolling through social media, and in your mind, you're thinking that's something that you're doing in attempt to relax, but really, you're still being mentally stimulated, and so that's not actually very relaxing if you think about it. And also, we tend to be exposed to a lot of negativity through the television or in social media as well. So I think that's something that we have to be consciously aware of. I think that it's important that we really have a very healthy mental diet. So the things that we kind of allow into our world want to be things that inspire us and that we do find positive. So, in and of itself, I don't think there's anything wrong with television if it's something that you enjoy. I think there are many things in this world for us to enjoy, and if that's one of them for you, go for it. Just make sure that you are, watching things that you truly actually care about and that you are really focusing your attention on it when you are doing it. Otherwise, hours are going to pass by and you're not going to, get much value out of that time to begin with. And coincidentally, someone else has asked me what my favorite movies and TV programs are. So, to go along with that question, I really honestly don't watch a lot of television, but there are some shows that I really do like. I loved Game of Thrones when it was on. I was a little disappointed by the ending, but I did really enjoy the show. I also really loved the first couple seasons of the show Vikings, which is on the History Channel. It's not for everybody. It's kind of violent, I guess, maybe in the same vein of Game of Thrones somewhat. But I loved the character Ragnar Lothbrok. I thought he was just an incredible character, and I think that show really has brilliant writing. So I really enjoyed that. Those were pretty much the only shows that I really watch aside of Stranger Things on Netflix. I think that show is a lot of fun. I love the characters on that show, especially the character of Eleven. I love that it's from the 80s. I grew up in the 80s, so I think there's a lot of nostalgia there for me. So that's about it for television programs. But like I said, as long as you are actively engaged in the television while you're watching it, I really don't think it's problematic at all. I do, however, think it's super important that we spend a lot of time outdoors in addition. I didn't realize how important being outdoors really was until I had a long span of my life where I really didn't go outside at all. I mean, I did not stay barricaded in my home. I definitely kept driving to work and to the places I needed to go. But my life was so busy that I didn't even think to schedule time to be outside. So it was just really a long span of years that I spent little to no time outdoors. And I remember walking outside one day and actually noticing that there was a sky. And I mean, that is crazy to think about now. But, at the time, I had just ignored this big, wonderful aspect of our life, which is this gorgeous universe out there. And, now I realize how precious and how important it is to have time outside. And it's something that I definitely notice when I don't go outdoors for a long time, that it really affects my mental health. So now I make sure on a daily basis I get outside. Firstly, I run every day, so I'm outside while I am running, but I also definitely like to go out at night and check out the stars. And then, whenever I can, I love to go hiking or do, any kind of outdoor activity. I love to do outdoor activities. I love nature trails and things like that. And that is something I definitely suggest to all of my clients and certainly to all of you, because there's just something that comes from being outside and being in the majesty of nature and really understanding that our problems are so small in comparison to this great big world out there. And the studies are extremely clear about how much being outside can really improve our mental health. So you're going to find a direct correlation between stress and anxiety and the lack of being outside. So the more time that we can engage in outdoor activities and just again being outside and looking at all the beautiful things in this world is going to make a big difference. And definitely it's something that I make sure is a priority now, especially because I had failed to do so miserably for so many years. Okay, it's getting close to 30 minutes, so I think I really only have time to answer one more question. I have so many more questions to answer, so please let me know if you enjoy this format, because if you do, I have so many more questions that you have sent, and I would love to go ahead and answer them. And also, I am certainly open to you sending me more questions as well. But let me go ahead and answer this one last question because I think it's a great one. And the question is, how much can a person really change? I love this question, and it has a very happy answer, and that is that a person can change immensely. There are very few aspects of our personality and of our life that we can't actually change. Now, that doesn't mean that it is easy. It doesn't mean that we can just get a magic wand or decide that we're going to change something and not put in any work. If we are willing to do the inner work, and a lot of this has to do with really reprogramming a lot of things in our subconscious mind a lot of times, but if we are willing to do that, we can change almost every aspect of our life. Everything starts in our brain. Everything starts in our mind. And no person, nobody is hopeless. Everybody's got potential. Everyone has the ability to change and improve their life. You have to believe that you're able to be able to, but once you do that, pretty much nothing is impossible. It's also never too late to make changes. I know a lot of people feel that, once they get to a certain age or a different stage of their life, that, that's it. They made all the choices that they made in their life and now they just kind of have to stick with that. But that is not true at all. It is never too late to change careers, to change your mindset, to change the entire course of your life if you want to. It's never too late. If you find yourself feeling that improvements could be made in your life, where you realize that, oh my goodness, I'm really not happy. Once you make that realization, you really owe it to yourself to make changes in your life, because when you know that change needs to be made and you aren't making those changes, you are an active participant in your own misery. So you need to be a friend to yourself. You need to take care of yourself and begin the process of truly taking steps to change your own life. It's always possible. So the answer of the question is, how much can you change your life? Close to 100%. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I really enjoyed this format, so please give me your feedback. Looking forward to hear if you enjoyed this as much as I did. And I want to thank you not only for your support here and on the Nena Lavonne YouTube channel, but for all these incredibly insightful questions and for the sincere desire to want to change your life. I think that is incredibly admirable, and I just wish you so much luck and love in the process. So that being said, do reach out to me if you have any questions that you would like answered, and you can reach me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at Nena Lavonne, NenaLavonne. Or you can send me an email, and my email address is nena.lavonne@gmail.com. So I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today. I greatly enjoyed it, and I sincerely look forward to talking to you next time. I hope you have a truly extraordinary day.